Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Cypher Alpha. Today we're going to be diving into 198X. If you're new here, what I like to do is kind of dive into my game library here, kind of give you a first look and see if it's something worth playing or just something to put on the back burner. So let's sort of take a look here at 198X and see if it's see what it has to offer. So what is 198X? Basically it's a game that blends classic arcade genres into one nostalgic experience. So my goal here is to basically break down some of the gameplay, sort of talk about the unique retro inspired visuals, and see how it stands up to the games it plays homage to. I'll share my first impression of the game and thoughts on whether this is a must play for the old school arcade fans. So here's some interesting tidbits about this game. 198X is basically a love letter to the arcade era itself, combining a lot of these genres like beat 'em ups, shoot 'em ups, and racing games into a single narrative driven experience. The game features a very unique pixel art that sort of encapsulates the look and feel of the 80s arcade games. It was developed by Hybit Studios, a team dedicated to reviving the spirit of classic gaming. The game's story is about the emotional journey of a teenager in the 80s, using arcade games as sort of a metaphor for their experiences. 198X is known for its soundtrack that echoes the sounds of the golden age of gaming. As usual, if you have any suggestions or thoughts on this one, drop a comment down below. And if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. So without further ado, let's get started here and take a look at 198X. Sort of reminds me of the old SNK games, Neo Geo type. Beating Heart. Let's give this a try. One thing you might want to do with this game is I tried it initially with a keyboard. Not such a great experience. So you might want to make sure you set it up to have the right settings with a controller, because if you don't have it set up with the controller, you're gonna have issues performing some of these combos. Now this game sort of definitely brings up some of the Streets of Rage vibe come to mind. Both are sort of side-scrolling beat-em-up games where players move through levels, fighting these waves of enemies, using all these attacks and combos. As you can see here, I'm not all that great with it, but that's sort of the same feeling I get here. It definitely has that retro vibe as well, to that classic beat-em-up genre. Ouch. As you can see here, I'm drop kicking everybody because I have no idea what most of the moves are, but again, this is kind of a first impressions of the game. Another little interesting part to this is that apparently the game also supports co-op. So while I am not a big co-op person, I think anybody that plays co-op would certainly enjoy playing with this, would certainly enjoy playing this with somebody else as well. As you can see here, both Raging Heart and Streets of Rage allow players to basically interact with the environment by picking up and using weapons or items found on the ground, which actually adds to the variety of the combat. Kind of shows that shared DNA between the two games. If you could already tell, the soundtrack, like Streets of Rage, Raging Heart features this catchy, kind of adrenaline-pumping soundtrack that kind of complements the action and basically enhances that retro feel to the game. So they both do a very good job of this. So a good shared trade as well. Now, taking a look here at the level design, you can see that both games feature sort of that diverse and creatively designed levels that range from like the city streets to the industrial setting, you know, which keeps the game kind of fresh and engaging as well. So overall, I mean, I think the matchups are, you know, pretty well done here. So one more interesting point here is that both games feature combo chains, which I'm not doing very well here, mostly by accident. But both Raging Heart and Streets of Rage reward players for stringing together combo attacks, which kind of allow for very satisfying fluid combat that, you know, can deal extremely heavy which can deal extremely heavy damage to enemies, as well as multiple enemies. Definitely enjoyed the visuals here. Now, one other interesting thing is Raging Heart, sort of like Streets of Rage, it definitely taps into that nostalgia factor for classic 90s beat-em-ups, offering basically a modern yet familiar experience for players who grew up with these types of games. That rush will be not good. Put another coin in this baby. Messing with him now. Can't really go straight at these guys, they always end up. I have to learn some of these moves a little better. got a guy up there. Not looking good here. So I'm gonna assume this is sort of an introduction here to Raging Heart. I'm not sure if the game continues after this. We're gonna have to check that out and see how it goes. But apparently we're shifting off to another narrative. So further down the line, we'll see where this takes us. Well, I mean, that seems like a very nice intro.
There I was, up in my room, just like every other night, counting taillights on the highway. Soon the cars below would reach the city. But me, I'd still be here, stuck in sleepy suburbia. Or so I thought. But sometimes extraordinary things will happen if you just let them. Welcome to suburbia, just outside the city, sometime in 1980X. What you see around here used to be all that I cared for, because it was all that I knew. It was here that I'd met my first friends, rode my first bike, found my first love, and found out that nothing lasts forever. This is the place I grew up in and grew out of. A place I loved and hated. I remember walking around these blocks for hours, just waiting for something to happen. I knew I needed to move forward, but every day felt like I was on a road to nowhere. The same office buildings and cheap restaurants, the grocery store, the laundromat, and the video rental place where Dad used to take me on the weekends. He'd be looking for classics, while I was more into superheroes. Oh man, we could go on forever. But then, we didn't go there anymore. It was no big deal. These days, I guess I was just looking for anything that could make my heart skip a beat again. And that was when I found it. The factory was built long before I was born, but had been shut down and abandoned for as long as I could remember. Mom used to tell me to stay away from there, but there was something down that pitch-black alley that caught my eye. It took all the guts I had to go down the stairs. The basement air was thick with cigarette smoke and 10,000 volts of energy. And in the midst of this electric haze stood an army of high-tech creatures, their huge crystal-clear screens flashing before my eyes. I'd seen video games before. Dad even brought home one black and white model when I was really young. But this was something else. Something you could not take home with you. And this place was definitely no hangout for children. In front of these machines stood some of the coolest, uncool people I had ever seen. They were the freaks, the geeks, the misfits, the outcasts, the real rebels, part of something the outside world could not understand or even knew existed. These guys were all playing trance-like, totally absorbed, as if they experienced something from another dimension. Maybe I could be one of them.
Okay, so here we are at Out of the Void. Let's we're gonna start this one and we'll see what it's like. Let's give it a go here. Out of the Void is certainly, we can probably compare it a bit to side-scrolling shooters like R-Type or Galaga. Basically, it shares similarities in the emphasis on navigating through levels filled with a bunch of enemies and obstacles in a strategic manner to kind of avoid danger, which in this run definitely going to be hit or miss at some point. I think both with R-Type and Galaga, I mean, everything involved basically these very quick reflexes, which I unfortunately do not have anymore. Basically precise movement and focusing on basically surviving waves of enemies. So Out of the Void kind of mirrors this classic shooter experience with a few kind of modern twists to it. But it still remains, but I guess it still retains that challenging gameplay that made they're smoking here. I don't know how much longer will last here, boy. I'm gonna try and go as far as we can, but it still retains the challenging kind of gameplay that made these the 80s and 90s alternatives very iconic. I'm not saying they're a one-to-one comparison, but I think it certainly holds homage to those. Avoid these. Oh no. Give this another go here. I have to say I'm definitely digging the soundtrack and the graphics here. For example, on the soundtrack, Out of the Void definitely features a very dynamic, atmospheric soundtrack that definitely enhances that intense gameplay. much like the memorable music in R-Type itself and Galaga. The music kind of complements the action, keeping the player basically engaged on edge as you kind of go through the level. It's been a while since I played some of these, honestly. The graphics, they at least for this game, they look very modern. Very sleek visuals with a very dark sci-fi aesthetic that pays basically homage to the retro pixel art style of its predecessors. We're doing a little bit better this run. We can get this one out of the way right away. Now, while R-Type and Galaga both relied on 8-bit and 16-bit graphics, Out of the Void itself uses very detailed, high-resolution designs that still kind of evoke that sense of kind of space adventure and danger. So overall, I have to say I'm definitely digging this game as well. Double shot. Whoa. Ooh, brother. Oh well, at least we don't have to go through all that again. We know he likes to charge. Oh. Whoa. See if we can avoid some of this stuff here. Ah, damn it. Not good. Oh. Alright guys, I think we're gonna leave it here for now. I want to thank you for watching. Certainly a very interesting game. Love the visuals, love the music, and certainly digging everything about it. I may play it a bit more here on YouTube. I don't know that yet, but we'll see. So far, very interesting. Maybe we'll come back to it. I want to thank you for watching, and if you have any suggestions as to what to play next, please feel free to include them down below. Until next time, this is Cypher Alpha signing off. Keep gaming, stay sharp. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye now.